Welcome to episode 153 of the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro podcast, recorded live from Microsoft Ignite. This is a show about Office 365 and Azure from the perspective of IT pros and end users, where we discuss the topic or recent news and how it relates to you. In this episode, Ben has Stephen Rose on the podcast once again discussing his new role as a senior product marketing manager of the storytelling and branding team, and how they work to align demos across the Microsoft 365 product suite and how to craft a great story. It's Ben. I'm doing all the interviews this week because, not all of them. Scott's done some, but his voice is going and he has to go talk for the next 4 weeks. So I'm doing another interview. There might be some background noise because, once again, we're sitting at Ignite, and backed by popular demand. Sure, backed by popular demand.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I'm trying to think. I'm like, have we had more demand for Stephen Rose? But we have Stephen Rose. You are turning into a very popular guest.
I appreciate
on our
that.
podcast.
I like your podcast. I listen to it. I enjoy it.
Well, thanks. I think this is the third time we've had you on.
It is.
I think it's been a different conference every time. So the first time was the SharePoint conference.
Yep.
The second time was the Live 360 conference down in Orlando.
Yep, Tech Mentor, yeah.
Yep, Tech Mentor, which you're going to be at again this year. If people haven't been at Ignite and are going to be at Tech Mentor in like 11 days from now, you'll be there. And now we're sitting down at Microsoft Ignite.
We are. 2019.
Yes, and I feel like your role has changed. We keep interviewing you because your role keeps changes. So you have new interesting stuff to talk about.
I do.
So what is your new role? What is your day-to-day job now?
Well, last time we talked, I was on the OneDrive team, which was awesome. I love being on that team. And then a brand new team was created that I was asked to join, which is our Microsoft 365 marketing team. So what we do is we sort of stand on top of Windows and Office and security and do storytelling and demos that really help to show how the products really bring the intelligent cloud to individuals.
Okay, and that's, like we were talking, you kind of have two different roles to your job that kind of fall under one umbrella, kind of around that whole storytelling. So, and we can talk a little bit about both of them. One of them is actually doing like demo support for things like keynotes at Ignite, some of the executive presentations, and some of those big demos, which to me is fascinating, from the logistics, how you figure that out. And then the other one is like the storytelling. We're sitting in the Microsoft, it's the Microsoft 365
Experience Hub. Yep.
Right? So you kind of work with the whole storytelling of how do you tell that story of Microsoft 365, which we'll try to dive into both of those here in the next 30 minutes or so.
Which would you like to start with? Executive demos, or how we come up with concept demos, or just doing demos for a session?
Let's start with concept demos. How do you guys figure out what demos to do? Because you're doing some demos of stuff that already exists, but you're also doing demos of like brand new products that you obviously have like special tenants and special ways to do these demos. And
special helpers that make shoes during the night and we wake up and they're done.
Right, because we don't actually see those demos or see those features in our tenants.
That is correct, yeah. So what we'll do is, for example, with this space, they said, hey, we built this great space. We'd love you to take a look at it. I made some adjustments, but then it was like, fill the space. And my goal was really, rather than show a bunch of individual products, how do we really create a story? So for me, it was, let's do individual productivity. And for that, I chose Outlook Mobile, and especially having a chance to show off not just the LinkedIn integration and the organizational integration and how you can simply just hit search and say, show me all the emails with attachments, but also show the new Play My Emails feature, which I really thought was exciting. It's something that so many people are going to be able to use, and it really shows off the power of AI as an assistive technology. The other one, just because I personally fell in love with it, was showing Windows Virtual Desktop and running that on an Android phone. So saying you can take your Android Galaxy 8, 9, 10, plug it into a USB-C hub with a keyboard, mouse, monitor, and put this whole thing together. And that is, when people see that, it's super exciting. They're like, wow, I can do this? Like, what's the magic? And you're like, nothing. You already own the license if you're a Microsoft 365 user. The goal is always just to tell that top-level story and then drive them to the individual booths where they're going to go deeper. For the teamwork story, we're not only showing Teams, we're showing Flow and Power Apps. And then
it's not Flow anymore, though, right?
Yeah. What are we calling it this week?
Power Automate.
Power Automate. That's right. Yes,
it is.
But it's still marked Flow in the UI. So until they change that,
so it can still be Flow for now. It's one of those fun rebranding things we get to go through.
Makes me crazy.
I wish people could have seen your face with that.
No, it's just, you get corrected in the meeting. You're like, all right, I'll try to remember that. But I've been here for 12 years.
Well, I won't try to correct you.
No, please do. The amount of features that have changed names or merged or whatever over the past few years is just absolutely crazy.
I'm sure. So we did an interview earlier this week, not to go off on too much of a tangent, with the AIP, RMS, ARMS, MIP, AIP, like the amount of times that product has changed. You guys are doing good.
Yeah, insane. There's rooms full of people with monkeys on typewriters.
So anyways, back to your
stories. And then finally organizational, where we thought a lot of people familiar with My Analytics, but not Workplace Analytics. So we showed that Secure Score, Security Center. Generally, when we're going to do a demo, and it depends on the show for an executive, a show like this is, I always say demos fall into two areas. They're either evolutionary, here's something we had that we've made better. Like in OneDrive, we added, I can't think of the word right now.
A new feature.
No, not even a new feature. We improved a feature. So we took differential sync, which you only have for Office, and we now made it across all files. And that was huge. And we got that by looking at user voice and hearing back from customers, and they're really good. The other one is when we take something like revolutionary, something that nobody expected, like when we put in Translate in PowerPoint.
Okay.
Where you can speak it, it's going to translate to any one of 32 languages. And I think when we look at something like Ignite, we go a little more with the revolutionary and a little less with the evolutionary, because we're really trying to excite. In the demos that I do, I like to have a combination of both. But my goal is, and this is what separates the demos that I do at two events like Gartner and Tech Mentor and things like that, is I only want to do demos on features that are going to be hitting the product generally within the next 90 days or so.
Okay.
Where a keynote, where we showed something like Project Neo and those types of things are still a year away.
Right.
And our leaders really have a job not just to show what's coming new, but also what are we thinking as we look towards the future, and how are we going to continue to shape. Now we've got to sit down with those leaders. We have to sit down with the engineering teams. Sometimes a demo may be a little smoke and mirrors because it's not at a place yet that we can do it.
Yep.
Other ones are fully formed, and we've been testing them internally. So we dog food, we alpha, we beta, we first release dog food on a lot of stuff. So I saw, the cool backgrounds and teams and pop-outs and private channel. I saw that 4 or 5 months ago. Matter of fact, it gets hard because we forget that some of the features that we use, you guys don't have yet.
Right.
So we're like, I've been using it for like 4 months. We're like, not publicly available yet, and we forget. There's other things like the new Union demo, the new Office app, which we call Union internally, which allows you to launch any document, anything, without having to have any of those apps on your phone. We've been playing with for several months. So it gets a little confusing sometimes what you can talk about and cannot, but that's really sort of how, from the highest level, how we look at things.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. We did record this live at Microsoft Ignite, and as a benefit, Microsoft is giving away Microsoft Surface earbuds to listeners. So this is a sweepstakes. To enter it, you just have to go to, it's https://podcast sweepstakes, and it is not case sensitive. Just make sure you go do this before December 15 of 2019, and you'll get entered in to win those Surface earbuds. Okay, so how do you prepare for something like a Project Cortex? That was another brand new one you announced. Some features of that aren't going to be available for like another 9 months.
Right.
You said sometimes it is the smoke and mirrors, and I always kind of look for it too. I'm watching demos, and I'm like, is that a video? Or are those just slides that they're quick clicking to?
And sometimes it may not even be that. Sometimes it may be a click through. Sometimes we have a part of the product that works really well, and we'll show that. but it's not fully formed. Like we can get it to do this, this, and this, but if you click on some of these other buttons, it's not quite there yet.
So how do you sit in the audience and your heart is literally just pounding through some of these demos, hoping it works, or do you guys have a pretty good idea?
Well, we also have
it's going to go.
Jason Gregory, who is my partner in crime, and he tends to deal with our super exec demos. I tend to deal with the other stuff. There's always a backup and another backup.
Okay.
So we have what's going on stage. There's another one where if something doesn't work, we flip to backstage. And if that one doesn't work, we usually have a video or a click-through that we know is going to work, and within a second or two, we go switch.
Got it. So with those backups, do you have somebody, because obviously the person on stage is clicking through the demo. Is somebody standing there doing the exact same things that if you have to switch, both screens are kind of in the same spot?
They are going through the demo at the same time, same place exactly to be able to do that, and running the video of it, so we're also right about that same point as well. There's a lot that goes on to make sure that it's seamless, but what we don't do, unless we say this is something we're thinking about and is going to be coming, is ever try to pass off something as live code, unless we say, yeah, hey, this is going to be, if something's available in the next few weeks, it's live code. We've been doing it internally, and we feel really good. Things that are still a year out, it's, hey, how do we see this going? But you're going to see, obviously, a lot of changes in that between then and when it hits.
Right. Yeah, it's just fascinating to me to kind of hear the behind the scenes of how some of that stuff works. So you obviously show some...
And by the way, that's a huge team of engineers in the back who put together that partial, and graphic designers and people building this. And some of it doesn't get finished until minutes before sometimes.
Wow.
It could come in super hot.
No kidding. So how do you decide what to show? Because I'm sure there are other products, other features that you guys are working on. I mean, it's impossible to show everything and then come back from one of these and start working on net new. There's stuff that you maybe could have shown that maybe you thought you were going to show and you're going to end up showing at a future point in time. How do you decide what gets into a demo, what gets into a keynote as it goes through that life cycle?
Yeah.
Why do you show something now versus 6 months from now?
And I think for anybody doing a demo is, what are you trying to land and say? And then how does the demo move that story forward? If you're going to say, hey, I'm going to tell a story about XYZ, what's going to best illustrate that, and what is going to appeal to the widest variety of people in the audience? The other thing is, how far along is it, and what is our level of this feature is going to ship?
Okay.
I remember sitting down after SharePoint conference 2 years ago with Jeff Teeper and with Jason Moore saying, we have features we talked about a year ago that still aren't out. This is not right, because if somebody sees it, I feel personally responsible. Somebody goes, that's awesome, we're going to buy that product, we're going to get into it, because that feature's coming and it doesn't come. And I think where we were so trying to make our point and get out there, we're at a point now where customers are engaged, they're in the cloud, they trust us, and to not lose that trust is, how do we make sure that what we're going to show is something that's actually going to come to the product, that's pretty close to what customers are going to see, and one of those where we're not, but we don't want customers to stop and wait and not purchase or not do something because they're waiting for that. And I think we've done a much better job over the past few years. I was really impressed with the OneDrive stuff, because all of that is either hitting right now or will be hitting in the next 3 to 4 months. There's nothing more than 5-6 months out that they've talked about.
Okay.
Satya's keynotes are different because they're vision keynotes.
Right.
And vision keynotes should be visionary. So I think as a demoer and anybody who's listening, you really want to understand your audience. And a good way to do that is look in user voice, look in the tech communities. I truly believe that the essence of a good session and a good demo is when you have understood that audience's pain. Here's what makes my job difficult. And here, I have solutions that are going to make your job easier, or it's going to fix those problems you have, which is going to make you happy. And by the way, here's 2 or 3 things that you didn't expect that are also really cool, that opens up new opportunities for business or how people work or how people are doing things. If you don't understand your audience and why they're sitting there, no matter how cool something is, somebody's going to go, oh, well, that's great, but I don't give a crap.
Right.
And we see a lot of that when we look at our competitors' keynotes, where they will announce some feature that's either so niche for so few people, you're like, yeah, that's great, but I don't care. Or it's another size, another version, but it's still the same thing. This is not even really evolution. You've just made it a little bit better. I think we really look to how are we moving things forward, but really based on what our customers have to say. And unlike some competitors that are very consumer focused, we're really enterprise focused. So it's looking at those enterprise needs when we do that.
Got it. Everyone on your team is unique. So is SkillMeUp.com. Only SkillMeUp provides the bridge from fundamentals to certification paths to advanced skills to accelerate digital transformation with one subscription and 5 ways to learn. Start your free pilot today and supercharge your IT and Microsoft Azure skills by visiting skillmeup.com/pilot or click the link in the show notes below. One thing you said there that I think people need to remember too is looking at what type of presentation it is. When you said like Satya's is visionary.
Vision keynote.
Versus the technical keynotes that came right afterwards.
Right. This is the stuff that's coming out and the features you've been asking for that you need, and some new features that are going to allow you to do things and be agile in business and maybe even take advantage of new opportunities that you're not aware of or that your competitors are doing today that we want to bring to the masses for you to be able to use. And that's very, very different versus a session that will often go deep into one product, generally not as much future facing, more on here's the problems, here's the pain, here's how you solve that, and here's a few things that are going to be coming to make that even better.
And I like that focus. So I was at a session, I won't go into too many details, but it was, I think it was in Chicago at Ignite. And it was one of the breakouts, and there was a feature that they announced. They're like, this is coming. And we're actually sitting here 3 years later.
And it's still not out.
And it's still not out. And I actually talked to the team and they said, yeah, we just canned that whole feature. Yeah. It just, priorities shifted. And I'm like, oh, that was when I was really looking forward to. Like, you guys showed it. You gave the impression this was going to be here soon.
Yeah.
And then it just got put on the back burner. So,
and that does happen sometimes for a myriad of reasons, from we bought another company to we've changed direction, we've done other things. But in general, yes, I think we're doing a much better job of showing things that our customers are going to be able to, if not play with soon, very quickly. Like Play My Emails starts rolling out today.
You know what? I actually got it. So I'm on the test flight.
Yeah, and you should have already had it.
It actually showed up in the keynote on my phone.
We started rolling it out at that point.
And I was like, Play My Emails. And then I saw it. I can't enable it for your account because you have Lockbox enabled.
Oh.
So I put a tweet out, and I did get a response actually from the team. I think it was in the keynote that said, yes, we know it doesn't work with Lockbox. We're working on getting around it.
But there's no Lockbox in Outlook business accounts and things like that.
So I went out and turned off Lockbox, and I have it, and I've been playing with it already. And
what do you think of it?
It's cool. The one thing I don't know if I missed it in the keynote or what, but you do have to go add the Siri shortcut and all of that.
No, you don't. You don't. Here's what's really cool, and I'll show you right here, is while you are in the app, if you go up to the home thing, there's a button right there for play.
So I don't think so I could probably do that.
Go into settings and you can do that. But I have also created a Siri shortcut for Read My Email, and I've done the same thing so that when I tap it, it goes in, it launches, and it does that too.
So, and then it even works once you have that shortcut. If you say, hey Siri, play my email, it pops right up into the email and starts playing it. So it's a nifty feature, especially, if you're driving and you want to try to hear your emails, because there's some other Siri shortcuts.
And we look at people not even driving, but those who are on a bus and commuting. What's nice is I'm playing with this now, but there'll be an update coming in the next few months for you guys where you can actually pick which accounts. So you can actually turn off your personal account and only have it look at your business account. It may be in there now.
I saw it in mine now, again, but I'm on the test flight, so I know.
So maybe part of the test flights, it hasn't hit general public, but it's great because it was funny. I got called by that team and they're like, hey, could we ask you about the product? And I'm like, and they were saying, what would you love to see? I'm like, I'd love to see for prioritized emails from that I'm the only person on the two line. Because those are the most important in here. Those first, then you're one part of a group second. Anything that's urgent is first, and have it actually prioritized in the order that I would look through it.
Yeah.
So what's great is they're taking a ton of feedback internally, extra from folks using it. And again, it's how are we going to evolve this? But I think it's going to be a super popular feature.
Yeah, but it is. Going back to your feature thing, I had the same problem. I don't have as much access to future features as you do, but I had that conversation. I'm like, test flight, and I go tell a client, they're like, I don't have that yet. And I'm like, that's right. I'm in every preview, every test flight.
Right. But you're getting it one step after us, and when you're getting it, we're very, very close to releasing it. And that's really the goal is as you see the stuff that it comes and it hits. And I think we're doing much better at that, and senior managers are really listening, so I think it's great.
So kind of going out of the demos and
but here's one more thing. Does that also mean...
Okay.
No.
Nope,
that also means folks like you and MVPs and stuff can be showing this to users at user events, doing demos, videos, and starting training on that before it hits, so that you guys also get seen as the experts, all of you using the insider flights, so that people look to you for that as well. And that's important that we empower you guys to be able to do that too.
It has helped me immensely, because clients will ask, they're like, the URL rename feature in SharePoint. I've had clients ask me about that, and I've been in the preview for that, and I'm like, yes, it works, it's coming, I promise you'll be able to do it soon, and then I can keep an eye on the roadmap and say it's going to hit general availability, not these first release preview tenants.
Exactly.
I appreciate, as that consultant doing the podcast and all of that, being able to have previews to some of this stuff.
Exactly. And it allows you guys to be our experts out there, which is what we want, is that people are looking to you, and then you come and you, hey, Stephen, I got an email, when is this coming out? I let you know, and then you guys are that expert. That works well for everybody, and that's always, at least in my tenure at Microsoft, what I've tried to do with my MVPs, MCPs, and our community experts, and helping to empower them as the experts.
As IT professionals in the cloud era, sometimes it feels like we don't speak the same language as the rest of the organization. So when stakeholders from finance or other departments start asking about a specific project or team's Azure costs, they don't always realize how much work is involved in obtaining that information, sifting through cluttered CSVs and a complex mess of metadata in order to manually create custom views and reports. It's a real headache. On top of helping you understand and reduce your organization's overall Azure spend, ShareGate Overcast lets you group resources into meaningful cost hubs and map them to real-world business scenarios. This way, you can track costs in the way that makes most sense with your corporate structure, whether it's by product, business unit, team, or otherwise. It's a flexible, intuitive, and business-friendly way of tracking Azure infrastructure costs, and it's only available in ShareGate Overcast. Find out more on sharegate.com/ITPro. Very cool. So that was kind of some of the demo side and a few tangents, because
it's all good.
You're like me. We just like to talk about whatever pops into our heads.
Absolutely.
So you also have the storytelling aspect of what you do, where you were planning for like the M365 experience that we're sitting in now, where it's storytelling at events, but you also have websites where you walk people through the stories, where if they can't get to an event like this, there's still options for them to go see the story around the products, because like you said, it's not necessarily always a, hey, here's a new feature. New features are great, but if there's not a use case and a story around it, it may be useless.
Correct.
So how do you go through that process of telling stories about these new products and fitting new products into existing stories and all of that?
I think our first thing is obviously talking to our customers. When we start to work with a great customer, we really want to get a case study out of them. I think as we look at this booth next year, what I'd love to do is cut it into fours, and have someone like St. Luke's that told such a great and compelling story how they're using it, actually create like a doctor's office and put them over there.
Oh, that would be cool.
Maybe have one of our retail customers like Walmart build a small retail experience, have them show the software. So I think our goal is to have more and more of our customers tell their stories, because they're powerful and it's their story. So I think I like to look at how our customers are using our software in unique and interesting ways, how it's helped them to digitally transform, and then use that as how we tell the Uber story, and then use those customers and their quotes and their experiences to really sort of move that forward. And then, take a look. It's been a long week.
Yes, yawns are perfectly acceptable on Thursday.
And then take a look at new things we're doing, and how would that help a Walmart, a Maersk, a city of Corona do something even better, or something that they can't, and how do we weave that into the story? So again, we're always looking at a mix of product services. What I hear from people at shows, I hear amazing stories, great comments, and how we take all of that, and also where we see things going. I did a session on Tuesday called So You've Deployed It, but Now Can You Get People to Actually Use It?
Oh, yes.
ADP 20, it was packed. And we talk about how there are now 4 generations of users in the workforce, from baby boomers to millennials to Gen X to Gen Y, and that we have 50% of them now that see chat as the number one best way to communicate with other people within the company, and 40% who still believe it's email. Now, that 60% thinks you send out an email when there's cupcakes in the break room.
Yep.
That's what email's good for. So another large part of our job, in Roll is how do we tell a story that makes these 40% go, wow, if I don't start using Teams and chat and Face, if I'm doing video when I'm doing this and these things, I'm going to miss out. We're not going to retain great people. If I don't let people work from the device that they want to work from, if I don't understand that we no longer secure the device, we secure the data. If we don't help and guide people, and that group especially, to make that change, they're not going to be able to retain great talent, and they're going to have a hard time staying in business.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what we're doing now.
Right. Well, and that reminded me of a fascinating presentation I saw by a guy that talked about the generational differences in communicating. And one example he gave was, that kind of falls into the whole messaging thing. So that's what brought it out is... How many people do you know that are those, they're a little bit younger than I am. They're in their probably mid-20s, 30s. You call them. You pick up your cell phone, you call them. They don't answer the phone. You go to voicemail. You pick it up, you send them a text message. They respond 10 seconds later. Because they don't want to talk on the phone. No. They want to do text messaging.
No. And if you think about email, you email somebody, 5 hours later, they send you back an answer. You send them, you're not going to get an answer. So this could go on for 2-3 days till you get something.
Right.
When I started working with engineering in OneDrive, it was, we don't do email. Text. So I go, hey, I'll be in Teams. Hey, I'm looking for this. No problem. Let me add this person to the conversation. Yeah, we just rolled that out. Great. Where can I get the bits? Let me add a person. Hey, I need the bits. No problem. Is he authorized? Yes. Give it to him. Boom. Here's the link. Done. Within 15 minutes, I solved an issue that by email probably would have taken me 2 to 3 days, and it still may not have been resolved.
So, but how do you balance that out when you're telling these stories across those generations? Because like you said, there's still a very real part of the workforce that you will probably never get into a team chat because they're just not comfortable with it. So
but we're going to have to tell them you're going to have to be. And this is the thing is we say, you know what? Start to take things that were email and bring them into Teams, like announcements and stuff like that. You're finally going to get a few more people. I'm looking for that. Oh, we now do that in Teams. We now do that in Teams. And show them how to filter Teams where they're only getting what they want. Then you're going to be left with a few people that are either going to leave or that are going to go, fine, I have to be taught. I have to do this. But I watch my daughter in the back seat. She's able to do homework and work on a PowerPoint and upload it to SharePoint off her phone in the car. I can't do that, but I've learned that at 53, if I don't evolve and start to work this way, because when we first got Teams, when we first got it internally, I hated it. I'm like, I do email and that's what I do, but as I started seeing more and more things move over to Teams, I went, all right, I'm going to have to learn how to use this. This is for real. We're really doing this. And now I really like it, and our mobile experience has really helped that. That's now how I chat. That's where I say, here's a file you need and upload it super quick. I still do a lot of email, but it's getting less and less, and I'm doing a better job of when does email work well for that, when does Teams work really well for that.
Well, and that should encourage people that someone that works at Microsoft hated Teams when it first came out, and now you love it. You, just like a lot of businesses, grew to enjoy the product, figure out how to use it.
I realized I was going to be able to get more done faster and more efficiently, and even when I was not in the office, it was very easy for people to connect with me, for me to join a call, for me to share a file, and do things without having to have my laptop open. I went, all right, this works. I can truly work from any device, anywhere, and be as productive as I am in the office. And that's a valuable tool for me.
Is that part of the story that you guys are bringing to behind, like the Yammer, bringing Yammer into Outlook? I was talking to Dan Holm about that a little bit earlier. Right, is bringing the conversations to where people are. So while people may be more familiar with Outlook, now you're bringing some of those conversations to make them more familiar with Teams, with Yammer, into Outlook, which is an experience some people are just more comfortable with.
And what's great with that is that can be for people inside and outside the company. If you just want to do it inside, Teams is a great way to put that together. So, it's going to be blending some of these experiences. What makes sense for one doesn't make sense for others, but there are certain platforms that make more sense. And being able to have a chat with people outside the company and inside, but not have them get to the critical data, that's a really important thing.
Everyone is always looking to save time in their day, just like moving to the cloud can save you from the mundane tasks of patching, updating, and maintaining servers. SaneBox can save you from the mundane and time-consuming task of managing your email. SaneBox works with your existing email configuration to make your mailbox awesome. It may be using Sane Black Hole to avoid mailing and cold sales emails, or Sane Reminders to automatically remind you when you need to follow up on an email. You can even snooze an email, just like that pesky alarm clock in the morning, to defer or to de-emphasize an email that doesn't need your immediate attention. So what are you waiting for? There's nothing to install, nothing to learn. Just go to sanebox.com/allthings. That's sanebox.com/allthings to get 2 weeks free and a $25 credit. So one other question I had, when we talk about coming up with stories, and Microsoft is definitely in that enterprise space that some of your competitors can't even touch, but you guys are also in the small business space.
Absolutely, and consumer.
Right, and consumer. How do you balance the stories? Because someone like a Walmart that you mentioned earlier has a very different story needs than somebody like myself, who's an individual consultant, versus somebody that's that SMB, the 25, 50, 100 people.
Absolutely.
How do you come up with those stories, those features that either span the gamut, or there are some features that you guys probably release that you're like, frankly, these are not for SMBs or these are not for enterprises?
Absolutely.
How do you develop all those stories for the wide gamut of customers you serve?
It's about taking the universal and making it personal. You could take a children's story. There was this character who was happy, was not necessarily motivated, but the simple things in life made him happy. He was pushed into high pressure, lots of people focusing in on him, and he tried to become something he wasn't, but he realized he was happy when he was who he is. It's the story of Ferdinand the Bull. But you're like, oh, I get it. So here's a business who was happy doing this, they got pushed into this, and they didn't want to bring it back. So we look at the simple storytelling that's been told for thousands of years that takes a universal thing that everybody can relate to and makes it personal for them. And as we do that, there are many features, as we take a look at, are better for small business than it is for enterprise, or maybe just doesn't scale or are used by a small group. But I think we look at those across because all of those bring value, and it may bring value to in your personal life or to one of your partners. So I think we always look at that, and we have a whole team that is dedicated to small business and what we need to do there. A good example is we heard back from many small businesses that they needed a version of OneDrive that could be distributed and managed via SCCM. That because they were small, they weren't ready for everything in the cloud, so we sat down and we built that. We heard back, we got some feedback, we did a private preview with those customers, and now we have a version that can be downloaded and managed. If you don't update it every month, it'll stop working like our web cloud client does.
Okay.
But we heard that, and that made sense for them. It's not something we advertise widely, but it's there. So we're always listening for that because that helped them to tell their stories. Hey, we're able to get OneDrive out, get everything into the cloud, and now we're ready for that next step and to move on and do the same things that the enterprises are doing. So we always look at it as a win.
Got it. Because there's certain features too that sometimes we see them and we're like, how do you take this feature that feels like an enterprise feature, but we can't quite see how it scales? And there were a couple of them this week that we looked at it and we're like, I like that feature. It feels like it's an enterprise feature, but we're not seeing how it necessarily scales out to enterprises. Do you build features with a certain segment in mind sometimes?
Oh, very much.
Like that?
I mean, we built customer lockbox for enterprise and said, wow, what if we could do this for individuals? And then we built our lock safe feature inside of OneDrive where you can put in your personal documents and do that. So that's an enterprise feature. We said, hey, how can we bring this down to small business and the masses where they need things like that? So we're always looking for how do we do a light version? How do we make a consumer version? Or how do we take a consumer product and beef it up and add the security and scalability in those aspects? And a lot of it, again, is based on feedback that we get from our customers.
Right. So some of the features you see then, it may not have the same feature name when it goes from like an enterprise to a small business, but it includes some of the same functionality in a way that makes sense.
Right. Defender is a great example. We have Defender for consumer, Defender for small business, Defender for the enterprise, and it just keeps adding functionality. But it's basically at its core very much the same product. So our customers are getting enterprise level security, just not all that additional functionality that they don't need because it's unmanaged versus managed.
Okay, so one last question that I am trying to help my customers customers wrap their head around is Office 365 branding versus the Microsoft 365 branding. I feel like we hear Microsoft, we hear you guys now talking, it's all about Microsoft 365, and I feel like the Office 365 branding has kind of faded a little bit into the background.
Well, we changed it to Office.
Okay.
But Microsoft 365 is Windows and Office and security.
Right, because it's all three of those, kind of those SKUs together. Your Windows 10
Correct.
SKU that you can buy individually, your EMS SKU that you can buy individually, and now it's just your Office SKU. Is that kind of how it's being rebranded then?
It's more than rebranding. What we've done is, in order for customers to digitally transform, they can't do it without Windows. They can't really do it without security, because you can't go into the cloud without being secure. You need a modern desktop. You need the search and functionality. So by putting those together and adding features like Windows Virtual Desktop is free when you have M365, E1, E3, E5, because those Windows licenses are included, which now opens up all these new opportunities. So by putting those together, we're offering a better single pane of glass to manage your small business to enterprise, to have functionality that crosses over those and bring that together. For customers that go, when we buy a new computer, that's our Windows license and we only do Office, they can continue to do that. But at some point they're going to go, we need MDM. We want to allow people to work off an iPad or a Mac or work outside the office, or we want to start provisioning apps, or we want to do autopilot. Rather than add on this expensive part, we're going to say, why don't we combine this, save you money, give you all this functionality, and then as you're ready to be able to start to use it, if you know this is where you want to be, we can help you to move through that. And that's really the goal. But Office is not going away, and customers who still want to do that. But we think we're going to save you money, save you time, and give you a lot more functionality by sort of putting it all together into one. And our customers are seeing that and getting it.
Right. And I think kind of some feedback from the outside looking in, I have seen a lot of customers struggle with that. I cannot tell you the number of...
Frankly, that's why my team was built. This is
the number of arguments I have gotten into people where they're like, well, we get this and this with Office 365. And I'm like, no, that is Microsoft 365. That's not Office 365. And they're like, well, what's Microsoft 365? I feel like that story has gotten... For my customers that I've dealt with, it has gotten very confusing.
I agree.
On Office versus Microsoft, and they don't understand that they're two different things.
Yes.
How have you guys had success explaining that? Because we get all kinds of people listening to this, probably some customers,
and
some other
that's why we built a booth around this, and that is our job. Microsoft 365 is the intelligent cloud. And then we have a new campaign, the blank cloud, that change your IT like a boss cloud, that change your culture cloud, where it's going to mean different things to different people. And this year at Ignite, this is our first time really coming with that Microsoft 365 brand. I think as you look across all the booths, they all have a similar look and feel. This is the first year. It doesn't look like we're selling a whole bunch of different products, but really trying to tell a story. So this is part of our transformation and our digital transformation, which we're doing we've got to work as one. What's great is on the inside, we no longer have these silos building things without talking to other people. We really are working together on, great, you're doing this and I'm doing this. How do we bring this together? So our customers are going to win in doing this because they're going to get more products, better products. They're going to get them cheaper and faster, and things that work across. Or things like Teams, where we say, sure, bring in Zoom, bring in these other third-party things, and they'll work better in our ecosystem. Work off the device that makes sense. I work off my iPad quite a bit. I love it. It works great for me.
Right.
So it's that we're really trying to do, and I think we're on the right path. And I'm curious to have this conversation a year from now, where you go, people now get Microsoft 365, or now they're understanding it. But this is our first year really going, this is it. And the team was built in January, and I was added then to specifically help drive this.
Okay, so we're going to see a lot more, hopefully a lot more clarity as this comes forward, as you're developing that story.
But I appreciate you helping us to clarify it for your audience. And if this keeps going, that's fine. And we love feedback. Are we doing it? Are we saying the right things? And if it's there, and if you don't feel we are, let us know. But Office has not gone away. It is still available as a separate SKU, but we want customers to take a look at how it can help them by going a little bit wider and doing a bigger thing. And hopefully that'll work out well.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks a lot, Stephen.
Always
I appreciate
a pleasure,
sitting down with you.
My pleasure.
Chatting some more, and hopefully you have a good last couple days. Are you going to Universal tonight?
I am not. I'm having dinner with some friends, which I am looking forward to, because there's a lot of people that come here that I just don't get to see very often.
I know. I have been to like 2 sessions.
But you guys go, and you have a great time. I've done done it several years in a row, and it's an awesome time. We rent out the whole park. There's the new Harry Potter ride. There's the new Hagrid ride you guys get to go on.
It is. It's fun. But this is, for me, kind of like you, it's all about the people when you come to these.
Absolutely.
For me, it's not so much the sessions. The announcements are cool, but if you haven't had the chance to go to Ignite, I would encourage you to come for the people you get to meet.
Yeah.
And I'm
amazed at how many first-time attendees are. And it's great because you're going to find somebody who has the same issues, same things as you, or someone who solved it. For networking and for communicating with people, it's an amazing experience, and I love it. It's my favorite. It's my favorite event of the year.
And you guys, I feel like you do a better job at it every year from the logistics, and because it's a lot of people. But
we're
you guys
25,000 plus 15,000 partners of Microsoft people. 40,000 people.
Wow, you guys have done well.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
My pleasure.
We'll probably talk to you again in a year or so.
I hope so.
If you enjoyed the podcast, go leave us a 5-star rating in iTunes. It helps to get the word out so more IT pros can learn about Office 365 and Azure. If you have any questions you want us to address on the show or feedback about the show, feel free to reach out via our website, Twitter, or Facebook. Thanks again for listening and have a great day.